Hello, and welcome to this video about how you can use Oracle Content Management in conjunction with GraphQL to drive your data requirements for your applications that consume a CMS through GraphQL. My name is Preston So, and I'm the Senior Director for Product Strategy here at Oracle Content Management, focused on developer experience. And today I want to take you through a bit of a tour through our GraphQL API for content delivery and its capabilities. GraphQL, for those of you who don't know, is a powerful query language that you can use to avoid certain performance problems that occur when it comes to consuming data from a content management system like Oracle Content Management. One of the things that is a symptom of REST APIs is that it comes with certain response bloat because you might get returned data that you don't actually need, so your payload sizes are very large. And also, you can't necessarily dictate the structure of the data that you need from the server. In the case of GraphQL, you can actually specify the shape of the data that you want returned through the API, and you can also avoid response bloat by tailoring your queries such that you only get the data you need for your application's requirements, as opposed to a large amount of data in one fell swoop. Let's go ahead and get started. As you can see here, we've got a typical Oracle Content Management instance here. And what we're going to do is navigate first and foremost to the graphical IDE, which is located in the browser at your instance URL /content/published/API/v1.1/GraphQL/Explorer. Now, this opens up the graphical IDE, which makes available not only a query builder and tester here, but also on the right side, a really interesting documentation explorer, which we're going to walk through right now. Now, this allows us to introspect the entire schema that we've put together through our content model already within the context of Oracle Content Management. For example, when I start putting together a query, we've got certain fields that are available at the top level that represent top level queries that Oracle Content Management makes available to us at the very beginning. Now, this content model is very large, so you've got a huge amount of information contained here. We're really going to be focused on one particular type today, which is the get press release field, which represents the press release content type within the Oracle Content Management content model that we've put together. As you can see, this field takes particular arguments here in terms of channel token, which is an authentication token, or it can also take ID and slug, and we'll see that in just a little bit. If I click on this press release type, though, as you can see, we can get certain important information about this content item through this query itself by navigating through and getting things like the created date, so on and so forth, and also accessing the fields that are contained within this content item that we've actually defined within this content model. Now, another really compelling thing you can do with the GraphQL API for content delivery here in Oracle Content Management is to access reference fields, namely author of this press release, which if we click into, you can see that we can actually navigate through the press release field to access the referenced author field therein. So with that, let's go ahead and try out some of these queries. Let's close the Documentation Explorer, which we can open at any time by clicking on Docs over here. The very first thing I'm going to do is start a new query with query braces here. I'm going to go ahead and delete all of this so you can see this a little bit more clearly. Get press release is the first field that we're going to access, and it takes two arguments, as you can see here. We've got, first of all, the ID, which represents the unique identifier for this particular content item within OCE. And we also need the channel token, which is our authentication token that identifies the channel to which this particular content item has been published. Now, when I go ahead and open up some of this, some fields within, what we can do right away is we can identify some of these existing fields that are available right away, namely ID, name, and description. And if I go ahead and hit Command Enter, you can see that we've got data returned in the form of this press release item with its name and its description. Now, one of the other ways to access an individual content item through this approach is to replace that ID with the slug of that particular content item, which we can do by providing the slug right here. And if I hit enter there, you can see that we get the same exact information back. And if I, as a matter of fact, add the slug right in there, you can see we get the slug back as well. Now, this is really cool, But there's also certain other things that we can do with this. We can also access all of the fields that are contained within this content items type, such as the title, such as an abstract, which is a field that we've defined, as well as the body field itself. And if I hit enter, you can see that we've got a summary in the form of the abstract field, the title itself, as well as the full contents of the body field within our content item. Now, another thing that we can do is access some of the references that are actually referred to within this press release type. And the way that we can do that is to identify that referenced field, namely author, and access the fields therein. And one of the things that we can do here is get information such as the fields inside, like the first name, last name, and bio. And if we hit Command Enter, one of the things you can see is now we've got the person who wrote this article as well as their bio, which is currently made up of filler text. Now, this is all well and good. We've got not only the top level fields here that represent core information about this content item, we've got the fields that are defined within the content item itself and its content model. And then we've also got referenceable fields from within referenced items that are referred to within that content item. But there's, of course, more that you can do with GraphQL, and one of those is to access image renditions. Now, image renditions are a feature of Oracle Content Management, just like multi-channel publishing and differentiated channel publishing, represented by our channel token here. The rendition feature within GraphQL allows you to arbitrarily fetch a particular image based on certain dimensions from the server. So as an example of this, let's go ahead and add another item here, which represents a media field, and that is masthead. And what we'll do is we're going to provide a fragment here that identifies a particular image rendition that we want to fetch. In this case, we're going to get the header image, but what we're going to need to do is define a fragment here. If you don't know what a fragment is in GraphQL, it's sort of like a function. You can basically define arbitrary fragments that can be used to repeat certain things that you need from certain places. And so what we can do is define a fragment here, header image, on the image type, which represents the image type as we have it in our media here. We can access certain things like the ID, the fields, of course, as you have seen before. But what we're going to do is we're going to get the actual specific rendition here. We're going to get the large rendition of this image, and we're going to get that in a JPEG format. Now, we're going to access inside of that the file. And as you can see here, we've got autocomplete thanks to what GraphQL provides us. If I execute this query, what you'll find is that this returns all of the information that we've already defined, as well as the URL specifically of this asset that we have now gotten with all of the information that we need. And if I hover over it, you can see that we've got that image asset appearing as well in a preview within GraphQL. So that was a quick tour in just about 8 minutes here of all of the major features that you should know about within this first initial release of GraphQL for content delivery, available right now in Oracle Content Management. And it's a very powerful feature. We're very excited about it, and it's going to be used in conjunction with our headless samples as well. If you have any feedback about this feature, we'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, have fun building with GraphQL on Oracle Content Management. Thanks, and see you soon.